What's up, Transformers fans? Today on Step by Step Transformation, we're going to be transforming Firmament's Monstrous Bird form over into the left arm of the Thunderking Combiner. This is going to be a fun transformation, but birds are a little bit rough in these transformation processes, so it does take a little bit of work. Alright, to start this all off and get him transforming into that arm mode, we are taking off the wings again. So as before, the wings need to be removed to make it a lot easier to do anything with this bot. So sliding those right off, grabbing the other one and sliding that off, and we're just going to put those off to the side. Going over here, we need to move these out of the way, and we need to release the clips from the head so that these sections can release and flip upwards. So we got to get those arms up and away from the head. Over at the base of the shoulders, we got these wing things going on here. We need to lift these sections up so that they open all the way up. And that will allow us to then twist this forward so that they can be positioned like that. So now coming on the back, let's lift up the arms and get them out of the way. And then these sections, these little wing holders, actually need to come off. So this can slide right out. Sometimes you'll need to do a slight twist into this before you can raise it up. And get those out of the way. So this next part looks a little bit confusing, and what we actually are doing is we're working with these sections here, and we're going to flip these all the way around so that they're almost back up to the top. And then we're going to fold those forward into the stubby little arms. That'll give us our little stub arms as if we were going into bot form. Then we also need to make sure that these sections fold forward like that. So with the head all like this, we've got this little section with a little peg there, and the back of the head, the light piping there, has the same color of peg, and so we want to peg that into there. And how we have to do that is this has to fold backwards and be able to collapse down so that it all collapses down in there and everything's inside, and then the head is able to peg that down into the little red section. So now we're doing that same arm thing that we had to do with the previous arm. So these things are going to spin around and flip all the way up. There's this peg, and it needs to peg down onto there. So it's kind of doing that, and then this can flip closed and cover that section. Same over here. We're just rotating, flipping all the way up, pegging in, and covering. Awesome. We got our arms up in the air like we just don't care. Coming around to the tail, we just want to flip this thing up, and then we just want to fold these in and peg them into their little sections so the whole tail segment is nice and collapsed down and tight. Then we're going to take it, we're going to fold it down on top of the other tail section, and we're going to just have it sit nicely. Sit nicely like that. It'll flop around a little bit right now because the joints just aren't fully done, but should happily sit. Our little tail wings, we just want to make sure, again, they are also fully closed down, so usually they should be opened up, and we're just going to be flopping those down like that, and these sections we're just going to open up. So we just got lots of opening things going on here so that we can split the legs apart. Widen it right open. Now we just flip them over, open up these, rotate these out, and flip out the legs. Making sure to lift up these little knee pads so that the legs can rotate up. Gotta make sure everything is out of the way while you're doing this. There's a lot of panels that can go wrong while you're trying to flip everything. So now our completion status should kind of look like that, and we're ready for the next phase. So from there, we need to make this go to the opposite side, so this rotates all the way around, and now these prongs should be at the top. like that. So from this side now, we're going to collapse the feet down and we're going to fold them down onto the chest. So there's a little bit of work we got to do here. Make sure all the toes are pushed together and turn the claws into that kind of shape, like that. Put toes together and like that. Then these can fold in. The tail needs to be out of the way so that these can come together. So once the legs are rotated in and pegged into those sections, we have these little things here, and we just want to pop those open and then slide them upwards. So they got a kind of double joint going on, and they need to slide in a little bit higher up to cover part of this section. Just opening that up and sliding it up. Like that. When both legs are together, make sure everything is pulled as far out as you can. You need these sections here to be folded. You can't have them like this or anything like that. There has to be all the way out and these sections tucked in there. We need the full extension of the leg. And that's going to be important for these next couple of steps. So first we need to deal with the tail. We got our whole tail section here. We need to make sure it's fully collapsed down, and then we can fold it down here and open the legs a little bit so that the tail folds flat. And now there's little sections here and little pegs. We just had to line them up. We're not going to quite collapse them yet. We just want to make sure that they can line up and they're at the right spot so the tail's nice and flat there. On the other side, we need to make sure our legs are pegged into these little sections here, so those had to close down. We had to line up this peg in the middle so that it can solidify the legs together. We want to take this little joint thing here on the pelvis and flip that all the way up. It's going to be a little bit of a weird grooving here, and these are going to slot into little slots here on the actual feet. So the feet are going to be coming down again and slotting into that. So once everything is lined up, you got to be very careful with all of this lining up. You could then push everything together. So we're going to keep the legs set up. We're going to fold them down. Make sure this section is pushed all the way up so that this can fold into that little hole. If it does not fit, you need to do a little bit of adjusting to make sure that it does collapse in there. Other side, same thing. Get it down and make sure that collapses down. Make sure this is all the way up and that these can go together. Make sure you don't push down the little thing. This has to be at its top so that it can slot in properly once everything's together. On the other side, we peg the tail into those leg holes. And in the middle, we push together that bigger section there into the hole in the other side. It's very hard to see this, so it can take a little bit of adjusting to get the right feel. There we go. Collapses together there, and then both these feet need to peg into this thing. It is definitely a weird shape, and so it takes a little bit of finesse to get the feet to actually go all the way in like that. One foot in, and the other one. There we go. So now everything is together like that, and we got ourselves this going on. We can flip these upwards and get them out of the way. And we're pretty much set up with how our arm is going to be. We got to grab hold of the middle here, hold on to both sides, and pull apart, and that'll give you your joint. So now it can get its arm bend going on and have the full joint, and we got ourselves that. All right, so now we got our whole thing together here, and we got this section. We need to make sure that's nice and tight together, and we got ourselves our hand. It has little slots right there to be able to slot into that. So we need to make sure everything lines up and push that hand all the way down. And now that has its range of motion there. And we got ourselves our left arm. Look at all massive, awesome looking fingers, cool looking arm section. Everything moves around nicely. And we got ourselves a bird arm. Keep your wings and wing segments available for a later step. Once we get it all together, these wings will actually attach onto the back of the combined figure to give him his massive Predaking wings. Alright guys, so that is the left arm of Thunder King. Let me know what you think about Firmament's arm mode. It's not really my favorite mode, but, you know, it might be yours. You might really like it. And catch us next time when we start going into King Lion, or the third party Razor Claw.